Thank you all for attending today's USA Gymnastics webinar. Today's topic, we are focusing on working with special needs athletes and the HUGS program. So we're really excited about what we're doing here at USA Gymnastics with currently developing an educational track for our coaches and our clubs to include curriculum on how to work with athletes who have intellectual or physical disabilities and how to include them in classes at your gym. So we have a two-part portion of this webinar today. At the beginning, we will focus on the recreational side of working with athletes who have intellectual or physical disabilities. So having a special needs class, there is a course that we're developing with Carissa Johnson, who is the owner and founder of Spectre Gymnastics, and who is working exclusively with USA Gymnastics on the R201. So at the beginning of today's webinar, we will have Carissa go over working with children with special needs in your gym. And towards the second half of today's webinar, we have Cindy Bickman, who is our Special Olympics representative for the USA Gymnastics Advisory Council, and Claudia Krishmer, who is our Excel National Committee Chair. They will focus on the more competitive aspect of working with our special needs athletes in the HUGS program. So again, today you are welcome to take notes throughout the webinar. This will be available at the end of today's webinar, and we will go ahead and jump right in and get started with Carissa in the R201.
Great, thank you, Lakeisha. So my name is Carissa, and I exclusively work with children with special needs in Portland, Oregon. My gym is called Spectre Gymnastics, and we serve over 100 students impacted by various disabilities, including autism, Down syndrome, and a variety of genetic disorders. On the next slide here that you'll see, one more slide. So the R201 course is focusing on how to include children with various disabilities into your recreational classes in the gym. In the course, we define inclusion as classes that integrate students impacted by a disability into a traditional preschool or recreational class. Specialized special needs classes are more adaptive groups with smaller student-teacher ratios. That's not something that we're going to cover in depth today or in this course. So I just wanted to clarify that this course is focused on teaching strategies to help include students into traditional classes that are already going on in your gym. The R201 course will give instructors strategies to help integrate these learners into your classes. And I'd also like to point out that the strategies that are covered in this course can be beneficial to all of the students involved, not just the kids that are impacted by a disability. So on the next slide, we'll talk about the different roles of instructors. So there are some key responsibilities that we'd like to define. The lead instructor is the instructor who is in charge of leading the entire group. They give the group instructions, they help monitor class control among all of the students and provide spotting with the students. An inclusion assistant is an aide that is specifically designed to help integrate an impacted athlete into a class. So they will give that student extra support, any adaptive teaching strategies that we cover in the course. The inclusion assistant would be responsible for providing that adaptive specialized support for that specific person. And it's also important to point out that the roles of both the lead and inclusion assistant instructor will change, and that just depends on whether an inclusion assistant is provided in that class or not. On the next slide, we go over how to analyze and get to know your student. Student assessment is really important when you are integrating and getting ready to integrate a student into your class. So prior to getting ready for an inclusion class, it's very important to get to know your students, meet with them, and assess any medical information that is pertinent. You also want to assess any physical limitations that may impair the learner in the class. And you also want to know the strengths, things that they're really good at to help them feel successful while you're working with them. Sensory integration components is often a very important thing to pay attention to. So all of these different components is something that's covered in the R201 course and helps the instructor and the assistant best prepare for this specific child as you're integrating them. So on the next slide, we focus on positive communication. So instructor communication, both for the lead instructor and the instructor and assistant, is extremely important. Students that have learning challenges will need you to meet their communication style in order for them to feel successful and understand what's expected of them. So on the next slide, we show a couple different parts or different ways to communicate. So this is an example of a low-tech communication board. This is just very basic pictures of objects and actions. Students, you can integrate this into your gym for kids who have difficulty with verbal expressive language. So they can point to any of the pictures on this board and help make choices if they get stuck or if they're unable to verbally communicate with you. So this is a really great teaching strategy that we use in my gym often on a daily basis, and we cover this very heavily in the R201 course. And on the next slide is another example of augmentative communication. This is more high-tech, so you'll see what looks like an iPad and an iPhone. And there are many kids who are nonverbal will now have one of these. So if you're working towards inclusion in your gym, this is something that is going to be very common that's coming into your gym. So there are specialized programs that help kids that are nonverbal learn to communicate with the world. So there's an iPad and an iPhone with specialized programs that will already be set up. Students work with their therapy teams on how to set all this up, but it's really, really powerful for the kids to learn how to communicate. So we integrate, and we feel it's really, really important to integrate the communication systems like this into the class. So for example, in my gym, we will actually require our students to carry their communication devices throughout the entire gymnastics lesson so that they have as many opportunities as possible to communicate and we can get their needs met. Okay, so on the next slide, we cover a little bit about skill breakdown, and this is another big area of the R201 course. This slide just shows different examples of how to break down your teaching expectations. It's really important to limit your expectations when you're working with a new student who is being integrated into a class. We recommend that you keep your expectations really low and just focus on the positive things that they're doing so that the students feel comfortable and successful and they have an opportunity to build a rapport with the instructors and the students in the class. And just trying to keep in mind for all of the kids involved and for you that when you're integrating a new student into a class who does have a disability, it can be an overwhelming and overstimulating environment for everybody. So keep things as simple as possible, and as long as the kids are feeling happy and successful, they're most likely going to want to keep coming back. Okay, on the next slide is an example of different positive reinforcement techniques. This is something that, again, we will heavily cover in the R201 course. Positive reinforcement is a really, really effective teaching strategy that's effective for all learners in your class, not just the kids who is impacted by a disability. So examples of positive reinforcement would be tangible reinforcement. This is a very, very highly motivating strategy for many kids, especially kids who are brand new to the gym. So we keep things in the gym like stamps and bubbles and stickers and star charts and other various point systems readily available in class so that if we have a child who is losing motivation, we can get out some tangible reinforcers and try to engage the child with play like bubbles or stickers to keep them motivated. Another type of reinforcement that we use often in the gym is just physical reinforcement that we define as giving them high fives or a pat on the back. We define gestural gestural reinforcement by smiling at the students, giving them a thumbs up, clapping and cheering for them. Praise is another form of reinforcement that I'm sure most instructors use often, continuing to cheer your children on, telling them that they're doing a great job, keeping the praise high so that they feel good about what they're doing. Over here to the left is emotional reinforcement, and we define this just as using emotional-based language to keep your kids motivated. So expressing to them that when they're working really hard, you're feeling proud of them and that their positive behavior is making you feel very happy and proud, and also the other kids in the group. And we've found that through using heavily emotionally based language with our students, we've developed really strong rapport with our kids and our families, and that really makes the learning experience easier for everyone involved. So emotional reinforcement is something that you want to do on a very continuous basis, be consistent with that, and over time you'll see an improvement with your rapport, and then that makes teaching easier for everybody. And up at the top of the grid is differential reinforcement, and we define that as using multiple types of all of these reinforcements combined in a class. So essentially you're switching back and forth from giving kids praise to giving them physical reinforcement, high fives or a pat on the back, switching back to gestural reinforcement, smiling at them if you're not praising them, and if a kid is really stuck, moving back to tangible reinforcements. Blow some bubbles with them, give them some extra stamps on their hands, and encourage them to keep working hard. So that is something, again, that we cover very heavily in the R201 course coming out. And we can go on to the last slide. So basically that was just a sneak peek of some of the concepts that we are going to go into in the course coming out. And thank you for listening. Look forward to releasing that early next year.
Yep. And again, we do have Carissa's information available if you have any additional questions about the course. And if you have any additional questions about what Carissa just covered, actually, you can type in those questions in the chat box on the lower left-hand side of the screen. So we'll go ahead and jump right into our second portion of today's webinar, which will segue into the competitive track for our special needs athletes that we offer here at USA Gymnastics, which is the HUGS program. So we'll go ahead and start with Claudia Krushmer, and she'll just tell everyone a little bit about what the HUGS program is about, and Cindy Bickman will also jump in to explain more.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And just to tell you a little bit about how this HUGS program was created, Cindy and I met about 8 years ago and to discuss the possibilities of integrating special needs athletes into USA Gymnastics competitions. And Steve Penny was very much in support of the idea and felt that USA Gymnastics should strive to make gymnastics accessible to all gymnasts. So from these discussions, we began the process of developing rules for the program. And from there, we needed a name that represented USA Gymnastics embracing special needs athletes, and therefore HUGS was created. So HUGS stands for Hope Unites Gymnastics with Special Athletes. And we felt that this was a perfect name, and it describes the program very well. Next slide. So Cindy, I think we can move on. Cindy is the representative for USA Gymnastics, the Gymnastics Advisory Council, and also works with Special Olympics. And she will tell you a little bit more about the logistics of the program further on. Okay, our mission is to offer competitive gymnastics programs for athletes with special needs and to grow the sport of gymnastics by creating programs that integrate athletes with special needs into mainstream events. So if you have athletes in your class program or special programs and you feel that they can want a better experience and to have a competitive experience, then this program for them. Okay, so why? Why the HUGS program? Students with disabilities are part of the grassroots program, and knowing that gymnastics benefits everyone, USA Gymnastics promotes the grassroots program and strives to make gymnastics accessible to all athletes and all ability levels, and this includes gymnasts with disabilities. While competitive gymnastics is not the goal for everyone who takes classes, it is within reach of gymnasts with disabilities, and HUGS was created to give these gymnasts the opportunity to compete. So HUGS is now the umbrella for all gymnastics disciplines, artistic, rhythmic, and gymnastics for all. And who is eligible to participate? Anyone with physical or intellectual disabilities. So we're going to talk about how you can become a member and how the logistics of coaching and what's required for the coaches and for athletes.
So for our coaches this year who are using their professional membership to coach on the floor at sanctioned events, we have an initiative called Be Proactive. So every gymnastics coach with USA Gymnastics who's a professional member will need to have a current professional membership, safety risk management certification, a current background check, and U100 Fundamentals of Gymnastics Instruction certification. Now for the TNT discipline, which we'll get to within the HUGS program a little bit later in this webinar, but TNT coaches also need the T210 annual update in addition. But anyone who is interested in working with the HUGS program or HUGS sessions at USA Gymnastics sanctioned event will need to have the USA Gymnastics professional membership with these 4 requirements, and 5 if you're coaching the TNT. Now, the athletes are required to have the introductory athlete membership at most. So that membership is $25. They receive some of the same benefits that many of our members do, which is discounts on apparel, seasonal apparel for discounts. They actually do not receive the USA Gymnastics magazine, so that's the difference between the athlete membership that's $57 and the introductory athlete membership. But they are also must be affiliated with the USA Gymnastics member club. So if you do have a child or you know someone who is wanting to start competing in the HUGS program, then they would first have to be affiliated with the USA Gymnastics member club, and then they could apply for the introductory athlete membership.
Okay, what programs are offered? And as I said before, HUGS is the umbrella for artistic, rhythmic, and gymnastics for all. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the artistic side, and Cindy will talk about the other disciplines. So you can go ahead to the next slide. So there are 2 divisions for the HUGS program. There's the Ruby division and the Ruby Stars division. And I want to note that athletes may choose to compete in 1 or more disciplines. So they can compete in the artistic side, they can compete in rhythmic and general gymnastics. The purpose is to integrate these athletes with mainstream gymnasts so they can compete side by side in competitions. The requirements for the Ruby division are very basic, and they include skills such as rolls on the floor, jumps on the springboard, long hang swings on bars, and locomotor skills on a low balance beam. The Ruby requirements correspond to the Special Olympics level B1 and 2. However, in this division, they can make up their own routines or they can do their Special Olympics routines. The Ruby Stars, the requirements are slightly more advanced, and they include skills such as cartwheels, handsprings on floor, a vault onto the table, and moving from bar to bar, and acrobatic skills on beam. Ruby Stars requirements correspond with Special Olympics levels 3 and 4. And again, they can make up their own routines. They do not have to do all around. They can compete as many events as they like, or they can do their Special Olympic routines. We're going to show you a couple of videos as demonstrations of the Ruby Star division. Typical invitational competition. We're going to do another video. So this video is of a floor routine of Ruby Stars. I'm not sure we're getting sound, but you can see she's doing her dance movements. And a round off back handspring and a backward roll. Some dance movements. A turn. A leap. And a hitch kick. And I believe that was a sweep zone. She's performing a back walkover down to her knee and to split. And has some nice artistry coming out of that. A forward roll. Oh, and a handstand to bridge. And a turn. And a round off punch half turn, cartwheel to a one-arm cartwheel. And a little bit more artistry. And a free forward roll and a pose. Very nicely done. So in these divisions, in both the Ruby and Ruby Stars, there are 4 basic requirements on each event. And so they're very simple to judge, simple to create routines for as well. You can also go to the USA Gymnastics website under the HUGS division to download all of the requirements, and you can see that there is also a skill chart, an allowable skill chart that you can use to create your routines. and they include their basic locomotor skills and bar hang. So we're going to move on to Cindy, and she's going to talk a little bit about the rhythmic gymnastics.
Hi, this is Cindy. Thank you all so much for attending the webinar today or watching it later. We're so happy to have so much interest from our gymnastics coaches and clubs in working with the students with special needs. In talking about all the programs, we have had a pilot year in the development of each discipline. For artistic gymnastics, this coming season will be our second season of HUGS competition. In the pilot year, we learned a lot of things. That's our year to field test the rules and to see how they are working for the coaches, how they're working for the meet directors, and how they're working for the judges. One thing that we found in artistic in the pilot year was a long hang on the bars for an athlete with special needs. A tuck position is a skill. However, in gymnastics, a long hang with bent knees is an execution deduction for many judges. So we've learned things like that, how to clarify the program so that it is very accessible and very usable to everyone. And this will be an ongoing project. As every year goes by, we will learn more and update rules in each of the disciplines, just like in all gymnastics. So let's talk about rhythmic gymnastics. We have actually, in USA Gymnastics, had rules and competition for rhythmic gymnastics for at least 15 years. We began in the Festival Rhythmic program, and their division was SA for special athletes. And we launched last year the Rhythmic Express program. So now we have HUGS Rhythmic Express. There are 4 levels in HUGS Rhythmic Express, and these correspond to Special Olympics routines. We know that a lot of our athletes who are coming into the HUGS program are coming from Special Olympics. However, they don't have to come from Special Olympics. Optional choreography is encouraged, and it's great as long as the choreography meets the requirements for each level. But we did want to make it easy for the athletes to be able to go back and forth between HUGS and Special Olympics without making any alterations to their routines. So the bronze level for HUGS Rhythmic Express is seated routines. This is a great option if you have athletes in your gym who are in wheelchairs or athletes who are unsteady on their feet, who generally use walkers. Then they can do seated routines. In Special Olympics, we have levels A and B, and they are with the rhythmic gymnastics apparatus. They're very short, around 30 seconds. And they are within the reach of your seated athletes. I cannot tell you the smile on the athletes' faces for these gymnasts who can't really go in competition in a lot of things, but now they can compete gymnastics and they can do rhythmic gymnastics. So this is a good option for you if you have athletes in wheelchairs in your gym. The silver level, the routines are very basic in the body skills and the apparatus skills. The apparatus skills and body skills are not integrated a lot at this level so that they can learn the body skills, learn the apparatus skills, and move forward in rhythmic gymnastics. However, I have to say, for all your rhythmic coaches, we do not have static apparatus. That's not allowed in our HUGS program or in any rhythmic gymnastics. The silver level corresponds to Special Olympics level C and level 1. And again, you don't have to do the Special Olympics routines. You can choose from any of the rhythmic apparatus. There are 5 rhythmic apparatus: rope, hoop, ball, clubs, and ribbon. And the athletes can compete 3 routines. So you can choose the apparatus that you want to do. In the gold level, the routines are more complex with the apparatus and the body skills fully integrated. By the time they reach the gold level, the athletes should have good technique with both their body skills and with the apparatus. These correspond to Special Olympics levels 2 and 3. The platinum level is the most advanced level. These routines are basically choreographed at the USA Gymnastics JO level. For Special Olympics, this would be level 4. For the other levels, there are Special Olympics compulsory routines. For Special Olympics, this level is all optional routines. The body skills and the apparatus skills are chosen from the FIG Code of Points. So this is real rhythmic gymnastics. And, you know, we have a lot of athletes who are so capable of performing at this level. Let's watch a video of a ribbon routine, and this would be a platinum level routine. You can see that in both artistic, rhythmic gymnastics, team gym should be just like other athletes. And it's amazing when you take your HUGS competitors to a meet and they watch your typical athletes, and all of a sudden the HUGS athletes are doing a better presentation at the beginning of the routine, a better presentation at the end of the routine. This is something that should be trained in the gym just like with every athlete. Let's go on to group. In HUGS Rhythmic Express, we have a group floor exercise, which we encourage all teams to have the entire group or the entire team participate in a group floor exercise. And then we also have group routines that can be with the choice of apparatus. In Special Olympics, there is a compulsory floor routine and there's also a compulsory hoop routine, but you're not limited to these. In group, we have duets, we have trios, and group is the perfect place to showcase what we call unified gymnastics. Unified means that one of the athletes has a disability and the other athlete does not. So if they perform as a group, several of the athletes can have disabilities, several of the athletes will not have disabilities. We have a video of a duet. This is a unified duet with one athlete with a disability and one without. So let's duet, let it go. sell your athletes short. You will be amazed at the skills that they can learn and the joy that they get from showing those skills at a competition. So let's move on to Gymnastics for All. In Gymnastics for All, we have several different things under there, and we'll start with Power Team Gym. In Power Team Gym, we have a group floor exercise and we have a team jump. I know a lot of you may not have ever heard of Gymnastics for All, but if you haven't, you should check this out. Power Team Gym and the team jump is tumbling and vault, either off a springboard, off a mini tramp, or for the special needs athletes onto the vaulting table, depending on their level. Again, we have had rules for Power Team Gym for at least 15 years for our athletes with special needs. It used to be the ADSN, Athletes with Disabilities and Special Needs levels, but now that we have the HUGS umbrella, then we have HUGS Power Team Gym. I so encourage you to check this out. The athletes work as a team. They do what's called streaming, which would mean, for example, an athlete would do a forward roll and stretch, hold their arms up. Then the next athlete would join in. There are two athletes at the same time doing their forward roll and stretch, and then another athlete joins in, and so there are three. It's really, really fun for your athletes to do, and it gives them another way to practice their gymnastics, their tumbling and springboard and vaulting skills. Also, we have a group floor exercise, and you have a picture on your screen now of a unified group. Like I spoke of unified in rhythmic gymnastics, we also have unified groups in Team Gym. And we will show you now a picture or a video of a group floor exercise routine. The video that you will see is a video of Team Galaxy. We have levels in Team Gym. Level 1 and Level 2 are generally what the HUGS competitors do, and there's a big leeway in the skills that you can choose in your floor exercise or in your jump. For the tumbling pass, your lower level athletes can do chassés, or they can do cartwheels, or they can do forward rolls. You can have athletes in wheelchairs participate in the team jump. So it's a good option for everybody in your gym. Check it out on the website. Also, under Gymnastics for All, we have Gym Fest. You know, all of you do Gym Fest routines. You just might not know that there's a name for it or that you're doing Gymnastics for All. If you ever have a gym show at your gym, if you ever travel to do a presentation at the opening of the local supermarket, or if you do a halftime show at a sporting event, this is all Gym Fest. In USA Gymnastics, at our Gymnastics for All Nationals, we have Gym Fest presentations, and we also have a challenge where you do exhibition routines and the teams are actually evaluated and compete against each other. The culmination of Gym Fest is held every 4 years. It's called the World Gymnastrata. If you've never been to that, please check it out. There are 40,000 gymnasts from all over the world celebrating gymnastics, non-competitive, just performing gymnastics 8 or 10 hours a day for 8 days. It's a most amazing event. So you can see this picture of, it's actually my team that from the Nationals last year, we have athletes with disabilities, athletes without disabilities, and if you look very closely, you will see the parents are all performing. This group is from 8 years old to 70 years old, and they all perform gymnastics together. This is a great opportunity for your parents to participate with their children with special needs. And I can tell you that sometimes the parents have to take lessons from their daughters with special needs in order to learn some of the skills or some of the routines that they need to do in their Gym Fest routines. It just gives the parents a different perspective and an appreciation for the abilities of their children. So let's take a look at a Gym Fest routine. This is actually a routine called In My Daughter's Eyes. These are parents, mostly moms, but there's a dad out there, and their daughters performing in a gala performance at the end of a competition. I don't know if you're getting the audio. I'm not, but this is In My Daughter's Eyes. It's a very touching song, and it's very meaningful to parents of children with special needs. At the Special Olympics, USA Gymnastics Special Olympics Championships, which we host in Atlanta at the end of April or the 1st of May every year, we do have a gala at the end of our competition, and it's such a highlight because the teams all get to come and perform for fun, and a lot of the parents from teams also perform. Brothers and sisters can perform. It's just a celebration of gymnastics. So I encourage you, if you have time at the end of a competition, invite your teams to perform. I was talking to Claudia this week, and the Special Olympics group from Michigan was performing competition. Now it opens people's eyes to the abilities of our HUGS athletes. And I think since we don't have audio, we can probably cut this video a little short, Lakeisha. So this is Gymnastics for All and our Gym Fest routines. Now, what you might wonder is how, forgot this, stay tuned. We don't have yet men's artistic gymnastics or trampoline. We have the rules for men's artistic gymnastics. We are waiting for the blessing of the men's program and their comments. We are hoping for 2017 to be our pilot year for men's artistic gymnastics, and trampoline is under development, so keep your fingers crossed. Maybe by the next year we will have trampoline. Now, how do you get involved in the HUGS program? It's so easy, but I'm asking you to take the initiative. Coaches, contact your local meet directors and ask them to include HUGS. They might not have heard of this program because maybe they don't have any athletes with special needs in the gym. So you can tell the meet directors they can just be worked into the sessions with other levels. In an artistic meet, you can put your HUGS competitors with JO levels. You can put them with Excel. You can put them wherever there is a space available. It doesn't matter if you have one HUGS competitor or if you have 50. The program is just beginning. We are hoping that it will grow. In Texas last year, there was one HUGS competitor who went to meets, and she was the only one there, but that's okay. She was there. She competed in the mainstream competition alongside your typical gymnasts. Then meet directors. If you decide you want to offer HUGS, what can you do to let it be known? Put the HUGS logo on your website when you give out your meet information, and just see if some people are glancing through that and see that you offer HUGS and want to come to your meet. Contact your local gyms that you know have special needs programs and just get the word out there. We have to work together between the coaches and the meet directors to offer HUGS at many competitions, as many as possible. Let's go to the next slide. So, what do you need to know logistically about adding HUGS to your competition? A lot of people ask, do they pay an entry fee? Yes, they should pay an entry fee. Often the meet directors have discounted the entry fee just to make it more accessible for our HUGS competitors to come. As Claudia mentioned earlier, the HUGS athletes sometimes compete in more than one discipline. We've been to several competitions where the athletes have actually competed in artistic and rhythmic gymnastics at the same competition, and this is one time when all of the meet directors so far have given a discounted entry fee. But I will tell you that the parents on my team a lot of times are so happy to pay an entry fee and so happy to pay a membership fee to be a part of USA Gymnastics because their daughters have been excluded and turned away at so many places. And here we have people who want them, people who are hugging them in the HUGS program, and a lot of the parents never thought that their daughters could even be a part of a team, have the opportunity to compete, or pay the entry fee. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but it's true. The entry deadline, yes, the same for HUGS gymnasts as for other competitors. We are asking for these athletes with disabilities to be welcomed into the mainstream competitions, and that means they should go along with all of the deadlines and all of the fees that are involved. Next slide. Judges. This is a question we're often asked. Do judges need special qualifications to judge HUGS? No. The judging guidelines are very easy to follow if they are USA Gymnastics judges. The artistic rules have, as Claudia mentioned, 4 requirements for each routine. So the judges will have those rules with the list of requirements. We have start values for some of the vaults listed in the rules. The deductions for execution and attire and everything, you have to judge that just like you would any other gymnast. And it's really difficult to be able to judge from your head and not judge from your heart. But judges, if you're out there listening, judge from your head. If there are bent legs, then you take an execution for bent legs. You have to do it. If a requirement is missing, you have to deduct for the missing requirement. As far as rhythmic goes, we have score sheets that are provided where the coach lists the skills that they want the gymnast to be given credit for. There are requirements for jumps, for pivots, for balances. There are also apparatus requirements for each level. And the judge, and this is typical rhythmic gymnastics judging, will go down the judging sheet and evaluate each of the skills that are listed on the form. The same holds true for team gym. The coach will fill in the skills that the athletes are doing. How many judges per event? You follow the same guidelines as for other levels or divisions in the competition. So in an artistic meet, you might have your HUGS athletes starting on vault. Well, you've got your 2 vault judges there to judge the JO or the XL. Those 2 judges will judge your HUGS competitors as well. The same holds true for rhythmic. If you're alternating events and one panel of judges might be judging your JO athletes and the other panel of judges judging HUGS, and then they flip-flop. So you follow the same guidelines as you would. It's no different to judge a HUGS competition as it is to judge a mainstream gymnastics competitions. Payment for the judges, absolutely. Follow the same guidelines as for other levels and divisions in the competition. A lot of these questions come up because for Special Olympics, it's volunteer-based, and there are no entry fees, and the judges generally volunteer their time. So HUGS, this is USA Gymnastics. The competitions are being run by our national governing body, and the athletes, as I said before, have to follow all the rules, deadlines, and everything that everybody else follows. Next slide. So once you've decided that you're having HUGS, how do they actually fit into the competition? Number 1, inclusion, inclusion, inclusion. The idea is to have these athletes on the floor with everybody else. And I have been through the pilot year and last year of competition, and it never fails to bring tears to my eyes when I look around the gym and there are hundreds of mainstream gymnasts and there are 10 or 12 or 1 or 2 HUGS athletes with disabilities right there on the floor with everybody else. You can see in these pictures, this was the Courtney Coupette's Invitational, and in this competition, within the squad, we had our HUGS competitors, and we had this team in the pink leotards. Well, they were great buddies by the second event, and you can see this little girl in the picture on the left. She, as my gymnast came off the floor, she was right there to give her a hug before the gymnast ever made it over to the coaches. So it's a really positive thing to have them on the floor with everybody else. You can put them in a squad with your typical athletes. Depending on how the numbers go, you can have 1 squad of HUGS athletes and 3 squads of other athletes, whatever works within the logistics of your competition. Then yes, you can have a separate session. That's, of course, it's possible. It, to me, a little bit defeats the purpose of the HUGS program and inclusion, but you know what? We want these gymnasts, the HUGS gymnasts out there competing. So logistically, look at what works into your competition and fit them in like that. Next slide. Awards. You should follow USA Gymnastics guidelines for each discipline. For artistic gymnastics, we have placement awards. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place, like that. And for rhythmic and powered team gym, we have achievement awards, and they get awards based on the score that they get. So this is what is in the mainstream, and this is exactly what should happen for our HUGS competitors. We have had meet directors that have followed the placement. Like if you have 6 competitors, they get 50%, and they've given 3 places. But those meet directors have also awarded everybody for all around. So we've not been to or seen a HUGS competition yet that some athletes went home empty-handed. I would encourage meet directors to make sure that everybody leaves with a ribbon or a medal. So you can follow the USA Gymnastics guidelines that everybody else follows, or the next slide, you can certainly opt, meet directors, to give extra awards. This was at one of our pilot meets and the Mardi Gras Invitational, and these young ladies went home with a lot of awards, and you know what? They earned every single thing that they won. So, next slide. Competitions that are available. These are our national competitions. The USA Gymnastics Special Olympics Championships will be May the 6th. It's in Marietta, Georgia, which is north of Atlanta. And we have our USA Gymnastics for All National Championships. They will be in Cincinnati at the end of June. All information is on the USA Gymnastics website. It's under the GFA link, and you will be able to find complete fact sheets and entry information for both of these competitions. And as far as local competitions, we're leaving that to you. Check with your local meet directors and encourage them to include HUGS. Well, let's go to the next slide. These are our resources, and I think Lakeisha's going to jump in here now and show you actually how you can get this information.
Thanks, Cindy. So to get this information for the Special Olympics video resources, you can actually type in this URL, just type in specialolympics.org/resources, and we'll take a look at what that page looks like here, and we have it pulled up. So it will actually pull up a alphabetized list of Special Olympics topics for you to search. So you'll actually just go under the R topic, or Q and R for resources, and then it will redirect you to the website, that specific location for the Special Olympics videos. As was referred earlier when we were going over the different divisions within the Ruby division and some of the rules, we referred to the Special Olympic level rules. So the SpecialOlympics.org website is a great website to get acquainted with if this is your first time working with our gymnasts who have special needs and you are wanting to learn more about the Special Olympics side of that. For the HUGS program, which is hosted on the USA Gymnastics website, you can actually find it on several pages. We'll direct you, this is our home page here, and we'll direct you to the GFA page for Gymnastics for All. And on this page, if you look to your left here, under this menu, you can actually click on, we'll actually go first to the event, to the GFA event. So we have the upcoming 2017 USA Gymnastics Special Olympics Championships location and information along with date there for upcoming events. And to learn more about Gymnastics for All, you can click here. And a lot of what, we have our HUGS here, so competitive, HUGS, the HUGS program, our group performance, Power Team Gym, Rhythmic Express, and then we touched on what we went over in today's webinar with the Women's Artistic Program, Rhythmic Express, and Power Team Gym. You can also find the HUGS program on the Women's Artistic page under HUGS Artistic, so it will just pull you back to the Gymnastics for All page, and that's where you can find your scoring sheets, the Women's Artistic regulations, non-competitive and competitive programs.
Okay, can I jump in again?
Yes, you can jump back in.
Okay, for the meet directors, as far as sanctioning your meets, our HUGS programs are under each individual discipline. Women's Artistic can be sanctioned under Women's Artistic, but it can also be sanctioned under GFA. And that holds true for Rhythmic. And then, of course, our Power Team Gym is a GFA event. So right now, all of our HUGS programs are housed in GFA, but we are working in cooperation with all of the programs, with the women's program, the rhythmic program, hopefully soon the men's program.
Yes, and if you have any questions about the HUGS program and your sanctioned event, you can contact the Member Services Department anytime between Monday through Friday, and we will be happy to help you with that.
Okay, next slide. Oh, we've already looked at us, so let's go on to the next one.
Well, this has your contact information here
okay.
on this slide.
and we'll tell you, we always answer our emails, and we're so happy to have questions about the HUGS program, so please don't hesitate to contact us. So my advice to you is have fun. This is a great program, and just know that those of you who are on the webinar now, who listen to the webinar, you are the pioneers in this HUGS program for USA Gymnastics. You're the ones who are going to drive the program, help it grow, help it spread, and get it started. And you are the ones that in 5 years, maybe 10 years, you all can look back and say, wow, I can't believe that there was ever a day way back in the dark ages where there weren't athletes with disabilities out on the floor at all these competitions. So good luck to all of you. Thank you to all of you, and have a great time.
All right, and we'll go ahead and jump into our Q&A portion of today's webinar. And we did thank you all for those of you who did type in your questions in the chat box. We're going to go ahead and get those questions answered for you. So our first question was actually regarding the skill chart for Ruby Stars. So I guess we could refer to Claudia for this. Will coaches receive a skill chart for Ruby and Ruby Stars? And for the judges, or do they also just receive awards?
Well, the rules, I'm not sure that I understand this question, but the rules, the chart for the rules are on the website, and that chart is what the coaches will use and what the judges will use. There is not a skill chart where they put stars on it, per se. They will receive awards just like everybody else at the competition.
Perfect. Our next question, how many hours of practice per week are the athletes practicing when they are at the platinum level of the HUGS program, so the platinum division?
The girl that you saw in the video comes 2 to 3 days a week, and 1 to 2 or 3 hours a day, depending on what competitions we have. She also competes Rhythmic Express, and she competed last year JO Level 4. She is one of the highest level. Well, the video you saw was from the Down Syndrome World Championship. She is the reigning Down Syndrome World Champion. She's a little bit the exception. We have other athletes competing at the platinum level who will practice twice a week for an hour or two each day in order to get their routines.
Awesome. So this question is asking if you're currently coaching with the Special Olympics, are the requirements a little different for those coaches who coach for Special Olympics than at a USA Gymnastics sanctioned competition? And I'll jump in here, and then Cindy can also answer that. Or are both coaches required to be coaches under both organizations? So for USA Gymnastics, any coach, so that's whether you're coaching on the floor for a HUGS session, TNT, rhythmic, women's, any of our coaches have to be professional members, and they have to have 4 requirements. So they have to bring 4 things to the floor when they are coaching at sanctioned events. And so their membership has to be current, their safety certification has to be current, their U100 has to be current, and they have to have a current background check on file. So as Cindy stated earlier, we are currently working with a couple of other programs, TNT and the men's program, to have the HUGS sessions included for those disciplines, but for TNT coaches, in addition, they would need, once we do get that approval and get that program set up, they would need, in addition, the T210 annual update.
So for Special Olympics, yes, coaches will need to be Special Olympics certified, and you would have to contact your state Special Olympics office because each state is a little bit different on their requirements for certification. If you are a USA Gymnastics professional gymnastics coach, I know I'm in Georgia, and they have not required those coaches to go through the sport-specific training. However, you will need to go through a general session so that you understand what Special Olympics is and how Special Olympics works. So to find those requirements, contact your state Special Olympics office.
Perfect. So the next question is geared towards meet directors. So when incorporating the Ruby Stars athletes, how would the meet directors and coaches know what vault they would be using? So what are the vault requirements?
You have different setups for the vault. You have just the springboard onto a low landing mat. You have also vaulting onto a resi mat, which was in one of the pictures, the higher mat, and you also have vaulting with the table. What you have to do is work with the meet director, and they will help coordinate what vault setup that you have. The meet directors have been really good about that. We just ask if an athlete does two vaults that they use the same vault setup, so they don't do one vault just onto a mat and one vault onto the table. And if you can organize within the rotation so that the athletes who vault on the mat go first and the athletes vault onto the stack mats go second and the athletes vault onto the table go after that. We haven't had any issues in organizing this within the competition.
I just want to add that when we started the Excel program, and before it was Excel and it was Prep Op, and we were just integrating this program into competitions similar to HUGS being integrated in, we came up with these logistical situations, and meet directors will just work it out.
And the one other thing that we just kind of touched on when we showed the slide is the one piece of equipment that you need for the Ruby division would be a low beam, and that's something that's not always available at meets. So it's communication between the coaches and the meet director that you do need a low beam there. And a lot of the higher level athletes totally appreciate having the low beam there for warm-ups.
So our next question was a follow-up to the coaches' requirements for working with the HUGS program. So the question is saying for professional members is a member club requirement a requirement? No, it is not. So it is required for the athletes who are participating in the HUGS program to have a USA Gymnastics membership. However, the coaches can be unaffiliated. So the only requirement for coaches who are coaching athletes at a HUGS session sanctioned through USA Gymnastics is to bring those four requirements to the floor: so membership, background, safety, and U100. But there are no requirements on the pro members to be affiliated with a member club. However, the athletes must be affiliated with a member club. And let's see. Our next question is regarding breaking up age divisions for awards. Are there any age restrictions for that?
Well, good luck with that, because a lot of our athletes with special needs are older, like in their 40s. And so they don't follow your general age groups. As far as rhythmic goes, there's no age groups in Rhythmic Express anyway or in Power Team Gym. So this impacts artistic mainly. And it's up to the meet director what you want to do about age groups. You can divide them, and actually I just sent entries in, and the younger age group was from 18 to 26, and the older age group was older than that. So that would be the meet director's call on if you want to divide them or not. Hopefully, with the involvement of USA Gymnastics member clubs, we will have the younger athletes involved in the meet, so absolutely divide your age groups.
Wonderful. So we will actually go ahead and conclude today's webinar. I want to thank Carissa Johnson, Claudia Krishmer, and Cindy Bickman. Thank you all for your time today in giving this presentation on working with children with special needs and the HUGS program.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, so again, this will be available on the webinars page today by the end of the business day. And if you do have any additional questions that come up a little later or within the week, we do have the contact information for our guest speakers to get back with you, or you can fill them out in the automated survey that comes on after today's webinar. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you at the next USA Gymnastics webinar at the start of the year in January 2017. USA Gymnastics, begin here, go anywhere.